Nice.
Welcome to Action Packed, where we look at action movies and find out just how packed they are. Today we'll be looking at Goldfinger, the third James Bond movie released in 1964. These movies are coming out 1 year after each other. Remember when production only took like 3 months? It was a different world in the 60s. A different scary, scary world. Goldfinger is directed by Guy Hamilton and is the first Bond film to not be directed by Terrence Young, who decided not to direct due to pay disputes. Hamilton decided to approach the Bond movies with the motive to humanize Bond, as he thought he was too much of a Superman and the villains needed a bit of an upgrade. The film follows Bond as he investigates Auric Goldfinger's gold smuggling scheme, but he uncovers a larger plot by Goldfinger and the Chinese to nuke Fort Knox, contaminating America's gold supply. Goldfinger was also the first movie to actually be aimed at an American audience, with the other movies more directed toward a Caribbean and European cinema. It has a budget equal to the combined amount of the previous films, and of course it was a financial success. Probably just a fair assumption that all Bond movies made money from here on out, so I can probably stop saying this. Just like From Russia with Love, it has its own dope title jam, Goldfinger, sung by Shirley Bassey. Link to that sexy symphony in the description. Is the action just as sexy though? Let's start the movie and find out. The movie begins with a pre-credit scene in Latin America and an establishing shot of these ominous looking silos. And panning past these rocks, we're introduced to our hero, Mr. Seagull. Oh, never mind, it's just James. I think this shot where it's sped up when he takes his disguise off is weird as hell. The movie is filled with this effect. I don't really think it fits. Bond jumps over that rocky wall and Falcon kicks this Curious George motherfucker in the face, knocking him out. He then sneaks into one of the silos and starts laying down some ooey gooey C4. Not sure if you're supposed to get that stuff wet. James jumps back over the rock wall and takes his scuba suit off, revealing another suit underneath. Always suited up. This gives us an early explosion to add to the list. Bond's contact tells him he better skedaddle, cause Mr. Ramirez, the drug lord that owns the lab James just blew up, is probably gonna be sending some guys to murder his ass. But James says he's got some unfinished business to deal with first, and goes to a room where we're introduced to a bathing Bonita. Time for a little post-mission hanky-panky. Bonita ain't down with that bullshit, I guess, and her kissing's only meant to distract James while one of Ramirez's henchmen, Capungo, sneaks up behind him. I guess Capungo doesn't know that Bond still has a whole-ass movie to get through. James quickly uses her as a shield, and then uses his own handy plot armor to win the fight and toss Capungo into the bathtub. Capungo reaches for Bond's gun and almost gets a shot off, but James is able to toss a heater into the water, electrocuting and killing this sex-ruining maniac. What do you think about this whole situation, James?
Shocking.
Oh.
Positively shocking.
We go next to Miami Beach, Florida, where James has escaped for a vacation. Remember when we could go places for vacation? 2020 sucks, man. Here we're reintroduced to Felix Leiter, last seen in Dr. No, portrayed by Jack Lord. Lord wanted too much for reprising the role, and the producers decided to recast instead. This gave us Cecil Linder. Kinda sucks not seeing the role reprised, but hey, that's show business, baby. Felix cuts through the resort and finds Bond getting a rub down, and James introduces him to his masseuse, Dink. Felix and James don't get a lot of dink time together, cause M's got a mission for Bond, and he's put on the case of Auric Goldfinger, who's looking mighty suspicious to MI6. If only he were at the same hotel or something. Oh, and would you look at that, there he is. Goldfinger's been playing this guy like a pansy at cards, cheating his way into winning. The man Goldfinger is playing is Mr. Simmons, portrayed by Austin Willis, who was originally cast as Felix Leiter, but Cecil Linder changed roles with them at the last minute. And they're also both Canadian, and that's pretty much the only reason I'm bringing any of this up. James doesn't cheat at cards, he only cheats on women, so he heads up to Goldfinger's room to put a stop to Auric's bullshit. Here we're introduced to Jill Masterson, who Goldfinger is using to help him win at the card game. James interrupts and makes Goldfinger lose intentionally. Auric doesn't like that very much. Oh no, not at all. Bond sniffs Jill's hair and she liked that, so they make plans for dinner. And by dinner, I mean sex. After finally getting his post-mission hanky-panky, James goes to get a colder bottle of champagne, but a mysterious figure pops his hand into frame and karate chops James into a coma. When James finally comes to, he finds Jill dead, completely painted in gold. I wonder who's responsible. This scene is by far the most iconic in the movie, and arguably the most iconic in the franchise, being used extensively in the promotion of the film, even being treated with the cover on Life magazine, back when magazine covers actually meant something. Now back in London with M, James explains that Jill had died from skin suffocation, which isn't actually a thing by the way, so this is all bullshit. M tells James that he fucked up good. He was only supposed to monitor Goldfinger at the resort, not interfere with him by shagging his girlfriend, and that he doesn't want this to become personal. It's a little late for that though, don't you think? Getting cock-blocked twice in a movie is about as personal as it gets for Bond. James tells M that maybe if he knew a little more about what was going on, he could have been more safe. M asks James what he knows about gold.
I know it when I see it.
So nothing. Your answer is nothing. M tells James to meet him for dinner with Colonel Smithers, head of the Bank of England, at 7, then sends him on his way. Running into Moneypenny outside of the office, they have their usual byplay. Bond asks her what she knows about gold.
Well, the only gold I know about is the kind you wear. You know, on the third finger of your left hand.
Penny asks James if he's interested in her angel cake tonight. James says he has to decline as he has a business meeting. It's like they're already married. Moneypenny says that excuse is some weak shit. But M chimes in over the intercom and tells Moneypenny James needs to scoot because he doesn't want him late for their dinner. Sorry, Moneypenny. See you in the next movie. Now at dinner with M and Smithers, Smithers goes on to describe how the gold deposits in each country work and the importance they have on the economy. Smithers thinks Goldfinger's been up to no good, smuggling gold around willy-nilly. James decides to meet Goldfinger socially as he usually does. Smithers supplies Bond with a German gold bar as bait to get Goldfinger interested in talking business. Just about all set for his mission, James heads to Q Branch. This scene is the first time in the series we get a real in-depth look into the work that goes behind the gadgets given to James. We also get a bigger part by Q, who shows off the Aston Martin DB5. The Aston Martin was another large promotion piece for the film, having a toy made and becoming the best-selling toy in 1964. I'm gonna be putting that on the Christmas list. It's got bulletproof windows all around and switchable license plates. Q also gives James a tracking device, which he calls a Homer. Inside the car, Bond has his GPS linked to the tracking device, a smoke screen, an oil slick, left and right machine guns, and my personal favorite, a red button hidden in the gear shift that releases the ejector seat.
Ejector seat? You're joking.
We cut from here to a country club where Bond meets with Goldfinger to play some good old golf and talk some business. Goldfinger introduces Bond to Oddjob, his mute Korean henchman, and whose hands look mighty familiar. Goldfinger, not a simple man, asks James what his game is, as he knows Bond isn't here for putt-putt. James throws down the gold bar given to him by Smithers in front of Goldfinger, distracting him and probably destroying that part of the green. Come on, James, I know he's a bad guy, but have some respect for the game, man. Goldfinger, being Goldfinger, asks James if he wants to put a wager on the game for the gold bar, saying he'll stake the cash equivalent. Reluctant but wanting to play along, Bond agrees. Goldfinger takes his next swing and loses his ball in the rough. Never playing fair, Oddjob drops a new ball down and calls to Goldfinger that he found it. Knowing this can't be his real ball because he's standing on it, James and his caddy Hawker, who I love and should be MI6 by the way, decide to have a little fun with Goldfinger, switching his Slazenger 1 with the 7 Bond found. After playing the final hole and beating James, Bond subtly brings up Goldfinger's Slazenger, saying it must have gotten mixed up a few holes back, making James the actual victor and just another no-good cheater on the course. You're both awful. Waiting for Goldfinger at his car after the match, James sees his chance to arm that Homer. Goldfinger arrives and says after 2 meetings he's done with Bond's shit and doesn't want a third, explaining that many people have tried to involve themselves in his affairs unsuccessfully. Ominous. Bond plays coy, so Goldfinger gives him a little showcase of what Oddjob's gonna do to his head if they keep crossing paths. Before Goldfinger leaves, Bond tries to be clever again with Oddjob by tossing him that Slazenger 1 he swapped out earlier, but Oddjob just crushes the fucking thing in his hand. Jesus Christ. Bond really wins because they're now on the tracking system. I don't have a lot of info to support this, but he catches the flight after this one, but he still arrives in Geneva in time to keep a consistent trail on Goldfinger. I don't know, it sounds like some Dr. No timeline shit to me, but if you can make sense of this, leave it in the comments. Even if I disagree, we land in Geneva and we're still hot on the trail. James is passed by a foxy looking lady doing some reckless driving. Bond loves reckless driving, so he almost goes after her, but for the first time in almost 4.5 hours with this guy, his better mind prevails.
Discipline 007. Discipline.
We're all very proud of you, James. Finally catching up to Goldfinger, James perches up and keeps an eye on him as he buys some fruit on the side of the road, supporting local business. Good job, Auric. Oh, holy shit! James almost gets taken out by that woman who passed him earlier? Maybe you should have followed her. Sorry to question your instincts there, James. Goldfinger pulls out and the woman and James both speed by the fruit vendor. I'd call this a chase if Bond was tailing her, but she's tailing him, so I can't. I'll explain later. Trying to speed past him again, James waves her by, but flicks a switch for some destruction wheel discs. James takes out the woman's wheels, causing her to crash. Hopping out, he quickly rushes over to hit on her, but she just won't let him seduce her.
By the way, my name is Bond.
Shut the fuck down. Now on their way to her garage, James notices her gun case has the initials TM on it. Or sorry, her ice skates case, as she explains. Arriving at the garage, TM says it'll be 24 hours before they can get her new tires, saying there's a hotel up the road, but turning down Bond's offer for a ride. James is still on company's time anyway, and wheels back out after Goldfinger. This brings James to Auric Enterprises, which I feel like he didn't need a tracker to find, you know? Like, Auric Goldfinger going to his own company, Auric Enterprises? That's some fucking real hot detective work. waiting for nightfall, James dons his black spy gear and starts creeping. Finding a peeping window, he sees exactly how Goldfinger moves his gold around the country. It was the car all along, which Bond witnesses being smelted down back into gold. We also get to overhear a little bit of Goldfinger's conversation with nuclear physicist and Chinese agent Mr. Ling. This is also where we hear the first mention of Operation Grand Slam. Hearing and seeing everything he needs, James bounces back to the hills. But these hills have eyes. Hearing rummaging nearby and finding TM back up to no good. Pouncing on her, they accidentally set off an alarm with the barrel of a rifle. Tactful all around, man. Good job. Wow. TM starts flipping out, telling James to get off her and that she wants to kill Goldfinger for killing her sister. She's revealed to be Tilly Masterson, sister of Jill Masterson. This is why I didn't count her tailing Bond as a chase, because she wasn't after him at all, she was really after Goldfinger. She's just a really bad shot, and that's why she almost hit James on that hill. But enough exposition, you guys. You better scoot, because Goldfinger's henchmen are like right there. They hop into the Aston Martin and we get our first actual chase of the movie. We also get to see the Aston Martin in action, as James throws a smoke screen causing one of the henchman cars to crash, and then an oil slick causing the other one to run off the road and blow the fuck up, I guess. Nice. That's a hat trick. You got the chase and the explosion and 4 kills, as there were 4 henchmen in that ride. Not out of the woods yet, figuratively and literally. James comes to a stop and tells Tilly to run to the woods. He hops out and shoots this one henchman here, giving us another quick kill. But Oddjob steps out of the car and throws that damn hat at Tilly, sniping her and snapping her neck. God damn, that is ruthless. James runs to her, confirming that she's dead. Being surrounded by Oddjob and the other henchmen, they take Tilly away and take James prisoner. That's right, Oddjob, you tell him. But these guys are stupid and make the mistake of getting Bond to drive his own car back to Goldfinger's place. Bond immediately floors it and hits the ejector button on the henchman holding him up. I mean, what did they think was gonna happen? I don't see how this would kill the guy, but I'm gonna put him on the list, so we can all say there was an ejector seat kill in this movie. Thank me by subscribing. James tries to escape in the Aston Martin, and I'm gonna add this as another chase because the first one ended and now I feel like I'm over-explaining. Just add it up. Bond speeds around the facility, but he gets blinded by some headlights and crashes into a styrofoam brick wall, knocking him out. For some reason they have this mirror here, so James actually caused his own crash because it was his own headlights he saw. I don't know if this was like a lucky win for the bad guys, or if this is like a corner view mirror and this just so happened to work against Bond. I don't know. Either way, Bond wakes up strapped down to a slab of gold, giving us yet another super iconic James Bond scene that's been parodied to death. The laser that slowly makes its way towards Bond's most valuable possession, his junk. Goldfinger is pretty hype about his laser and tells Bond all about it, and also his love for gold.
I love gold!
He says he really doesn't want to see Bond again, and this way he can make sure he never does. Logical thinking, I guess. Maybe he expects you to talk, James. Ask him. Ask him if he expects you to talk.
Do you expect me to talk?
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Just iconic. Goldfinger starts to walk off, but James shouts after him, lying that he knows all about Operation Grand Slam, and so does the rest of MI6, so he's better alive, because if he dies, they start digging. Goldfinger agrees and cuts off the laser before it can cut off any willies, but Goldfinger's henchman Quiche shoots Bond with a tranquilizer, putting him right back to sleep. Waking up again, and probably super rested from all the sleeping he's been doing, Bond's on a plane where he meets Goldfinger's personal pilot, Pussy Galore.
I must be dreaming.
Pussy Galore is played by Honor Blackman. Hamilton almost changed her name to Kitty Galore, concerned about censors, but he and the producers got around that by taking the American censor to dinner. Hamilton is also quoted as saying, if you were a 10-year-old boy and knew what the name meant, you weren't a 10-year-old boy, you were a dirty little bitch. Although the censor didn't interfere with the name in the movie, they refused to let the name be on promotional material and merchandise, so in the US market she was named Miss Galore. Sounds like the censor was a dirty little bitch after all. Galore tells Bond they're flying into Baltimore, where James is going to be Goldfinger's guest. This is also the first time in these movies he mentions how he likes his martini.
A martini, shaken, not stirred.
Going to the bathroom to clean up a bit before arrival, James arms the small Homer he has hidden away in his razor and places it in his boot, alerting Felix Leiter to exactly where he is. Felix calls M to tell him that James is landing in Baltimore on a plane registered to Goldfinger. M tells Felix to keep an eye on him, but to keep his distance, as he doesn't want to cause any trouble for the mission. James is brought to Goldfinger's farm, Auric Stud, where he's immediately brought to a cell because Goldfinger's got his big business meeting today and he needs to concentrate. I'd say James cleaned up for nothing, but doing that kind of shit for yourself is important. Look good for yourself, homies. Goldfinger heads to his meeting with all of our favorite stereotypical gangsters at the time, ya she? Goldfinger invited them all because he owes them each $1 million for helping them get the supplies he needed for Operation Grand Slam. I love the reaction from these guys when Goldfinger starts his presentation and the room starts doing things.
What's up with that trick pool table?
Basically, Goldfinger has an ultimatum, which is always the smartest thing to give angry mobsters. Take your 1 million now, or take 10 millions later, because he's planning to hit Fort fucking Knox. While Goldfinger's knocking it out of the park with his PowerPoint, James is knocking it out of the park with jailbreaks, and he literally gets out by waving at the guy. Come on. James finds his way underneath the Fort Knox model just in time to catch the end of Goldfinger's explanation of Operation Grand Slam. With the help of all of his mobster friends, Goldfinger scored dynamite and an invisible nerve gas that knocks people out for 24 hours. He's gonna use Pussy Galore's flying circus to spray the entire area at Fort Knox with the stuff, knocking out any guards and using the dynamite to blow up the front gate, casually strolling in. Bond writes down a summary and wraps the note around that small Homer he put in his shoe earlier. As alluring as $10 million is to everybody else, Mr. Solo wants his million to go. Goldfinger excuses himself as he escorts Mr. Solo to his ride outside. And down below, Bond's watch party comes to an end, and he's again apprehended by Miss Galore and Goldfinger's henchmen. Quiche closes the door behind them and flips a switch, filling the presentation room with that crazy nerve gas we were just talking about, putting all the gangsters inside to sleep, but not just for 24 hours, for life, cause that shit kills. That gives us 12 wise guys to add to the list. Crossing paths outside, Bond is able to slip the Homer and the note into Mr. Solo's pocket, hoping Felix will track it down and get some answers. Oddjob hops in the driver's seat. Oh God, get out of the car now. You don't want this guy driving you out, and he's dead. At least Oddjob gives him a proper mob ending, bringing the car to a scrapyard, putting it through a damn crusher. He got cubed. Back at the ranch, Felix is there, sniffing around the outside of the farm looking for answers as to why he might have lost the signal from the Homer. Auric suspects they're looking for racing tips, but thinks that maybe they could be affiliated with James. So Goldfinger sends Galore to put something nice on to make James swing, and then calls for Bond's company, who's been back in his cell patiently waiting for a track to explode on. Having him brought out so Felix can see he's in no danger, Goldfinger and Bond have a great exchange as James puts together the final pieces of Operation Grand Slam. Goldfinger doesn't intend to steal anything from Fort Knox, but to use an atomic device supplied by Mr. Ling, the agent he was talking to back in Geneva, to irradiate the gold supply, giving China an economic advantage and raising the price of his own gold. Oddjob pulls up with the cubed mobster, and Goldfinger excuses himself as he has to separate his gold from the late Mr. Solo. Galore comes out to meet Bond and sweets him up, giving Bond the go-ahead to bring her into a barn so he can try and coerce her yet again for some sexy times. Pussy isn't down for Bond's bullshit, and Judo flips his ass teaching him a lesson. These scenes were added specifically to showcase Honor Blackman's actual judo abilities. This woman is badass. James responds with his own judo flip and then goes ahead and straight up sexually assaults her? What? Nice, James. Real nice. Let's just get into Operation Grand Slam. We get into the now important flying circus with their nerve gas ready to go, flying over Fort Knox, knocking out these thousands, and I mean thousands of guys. Even Felix, no! But I can't add him to the list. Thank God. Jesus Christ, could you imagine? With the next part of the plan, we get another explosion to put on our count as Goldfinger's henchmen use that dynamite to blow the front gate of Fort Knox. Next, the henchmen use Goldfinger's favorite laser to burn through the steel doors, and just like that, they're in. I love this one guy who grabs the cart from the front and then has to like Naruto run it outside. Mr. Ling and Goldfinger arrive with Galore in a personal helicopter. The doors of the vault are opened and the atomic device is armed. Hey guys, yep. There you go. They were all faking. The nerve gas was actually swapped out. Inside the vault, James is handcuffed to the atomic bomb and sent down into the depths of Fort Knox. Goldfinger bids him adieu and heads out just in time to catch the ambush of the American troops. Goldfinger acts fast, locking both Quiche and Oddjob inside the vault. Oddjob doesn't seem to care much, but Quiche starts freaking out a little bit.
You can be a hero, I'm not.
The only thing you're gonna do is die, sir. Oddjob throws his former co-worker over the rails, down to his death. Back outside, Goldfinger takes off his coat, revealing an American Army uniform underneath. But he has a solid gold gun he uses. Like, man, if you're gonna act covert, you gotta ditch the gold like at least some of the time, dude. Nothing matters at this point, I guess, and Goldfinger shoots Mr. Ling, adding another kill to our count. The army guys that run into him after don't seem to notice all the gold on this motherfucker. They did, however, notice all these guys they killed. And that's 8 henchmen we can add to the list. Also, now's probably a good time to bring up this guy here. Is he faking that he passed out too? He never gets shot. There's 2 more guys in here with similar uniforms that don't get shot either, so I guess they're just playing possum? I don't know, so I'm not gonna add them to the list. Goldfinger says he's going after the people outside and instructs the army guys to get to the vault door. But as soon as they turn their backs on him, he shoots them too, putting 5 more army guys onto our list. In this one shot when he picks up the gun to shoot the army guys, we get 3 more henchmen in the background here. We also get the quick explosion after Goldfinger runs away. Damn, these numbers are getting high. Back inside the vault again, James sees his opportunity to get the key for his handcuffs rocks that are in Keish's pocket. Oddjob doesn't like the idea of that and tries to get down those steps to stop him, even throwing his hat at him. James just ducks. Bond and Oddjob go at it, with Bond throwing some gold that bounces off on a seemingly unbreakable Oddjob. Oddjob picks up his hat for a second throw, but again just totally misses. I know this is probably just plot armor at work again, but I like to think the stress of being in the vault is getting to Oddjob, causing him to fault for the first time in the film. The second hat throw cuts through some electrical wires behind Bond, which come in handy later. After going hand to hand for a while and getting his ass chopped like he's in a match with Ric Flair, Bond picks up Oddjob's hat, and Oddjob's facial expression change is absolutely hilarious. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. James throws it, but misses as well. Oh god. This hat just can't hit anything. Does anybody have a gun? A gun would be really handy right now. Oddjob goes to grab his hat from the bars, but James dives and grabs that cable and puts it to the bars, electrocuting our favorite behemoth. Back outside, we're still rating the action, adding another whole bunch of army guys and henchmen to the kills. We got 16 outside here, and then another 2 to add as the army pushes further in, plus 1 explosion as this army dude throws a nade in here, inflating our numbers even more. Thanks, man. Then we get another 3 as these 2 are put down and this guy gets crushed by the vault door. Then another 9 as the battle makes its way into the vault. I don't know how to go over it with adequate time, so I added this line into my script so I could be saying something as I edited in all my proof. You're welcome, future me. That gives us a total of 30 deaths. I'm sure I missed some in there. I don't know if I have any viewers yet, but I'm sure someone will let me know I'm wrong at some point. With time running out on the bomb, James gets the bomb open. The movie turns into the Hurt Locker really fast. James has to pick a wire. Just as he's about to rip one out, a scientist comes in and just simply hits an off switch, stopping the bomb at the appropriate time of 007. With the threat gone, James is set to fly to the White House to see the president so he can personally thank him for stopping Goldfinger's plot.
I suppose I'll be able to get a drink here.
I told the stewardess, liquor for 3.
Who are the other 2?
Oh, there are no other 2.
Felix is such a dope guy. I think everybody deserves a homie like Felix, man. But oh no, James does have a guest aboard. It's Goldfinger, who's tied up the proper flight crew and commandeered the plane. Pointing that golden gun in James's face, Goldfinger says he's going to Cuba and that James has interfered for the last time. Yeah, we've heard this. Stop with the monologues, man. James is just gonna, oh yeah, there he goes. Bond tries to grab the gun and they wrestle around a little bit until it accidentally goes off, shooting through the plane's window and sucking Goldfinger right through it, adding Auric Goldfinger to our kills. And maybe this guy too? Yeah, whatever, I'll just add him there, sure. With the plane plummeting to destruction, Bond and Galore parachute out, and then we get our throw the rest of the budget at it moment as the plane hits the water and blows the fuck up. Felix and the CIA start their search of the area for Bond and Galore, but Bond isn't looking to get rescued right now. And with a sly parachute pullover, that concludes the 3rd James Bond movie. So how action-packed was Goldfinger? We got 73 kills, 6 explosions, and 2 chase scenes in Goldfinger, giving us a total of 81 action events over a 110-minute runtime. This makes Goldfinger our #1 spot by a landslide in kills, #2 in explosions, and tied with every other Bond film so far in chase scenes. Thanks for watching Action Packed. What did you think of Goldfinger? I pre-recorded a few episodes ahead of the release for this channel, so right now I have no idea how it's doing or if I'm even talking to anybody. So, you know, leave me suggestions for the series, movies you want me to watch, or constructive criticism. I'm open to it all, man. Stay safe, everybody. Oh my god. Ugh. Recording scripts makes me gassy.